Good day, this is Thumbs United. We're continuing our Let's Play of Rise of the Tomb Raider. This is not the game archive. I'm just rendering over the game archive and adding this commentary. So, this is a lie. This is a Let's Play series, and it's episode 3. I think I said that already. I'm playing Rise of the Tomb Raider on the PC. My PC has kind of a faster processor. It's 8 cores. It's an AMD 8-core processor, so it's really like a 4 or 6 core Intel processor, because it doesn't have the same kind of hyper threading that Intel processors have. But I had no problems with it. And the graphics card is old. I mean, I've had it for years, and it was good / okay when I got it. It was definitely not a high end, like the $300 graphics card or whatnot. It was $200 when I got it, so it was a good mid-tier graphics card, but it's definitely had a lot of problems with current day gaming. I think I got the graphics card in like 2013, maybe even 2012. And the main reason why I got kind of the cheaper graphics card was because I was planning on buying 2 of them, and eventually I did buy 2 of them. And so my old motherboard, I could run them in Crossfire, and so together they worked pretty well. But then I had this weird problem with the motherboard where, I still use the old motherboard on a different computer, but I had 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it would only recognize 11 gigabytes of the 16 gigs. So I was like, that's weird. And it's weird because, RAM is usually divided in half, so it's 8 gigs of RAM, 8 gigs of RAM per stick. And so it wasn't that, it just wasn't reading a stick of RAM. It was like reading a partial of a stick of RAM. But I work with a lot of graphics and rendering, and so I needed that 16 gigs of RAM, and so I got a different motherboard. And the second motherboard I got was from kind of a local PC shop, and it didn't have dual PCI 16 slots, so it didn't have Crossfire or SLI, which is like, now I'm like kicking myself. I was like, I wish I would have got it. But the only thing I was really concerned was, one, I wanted it to have 4 bays for RAM, so I could eventually go up to 32 gigabytes when I was ready. And I was like, I kind of assumed I'd get a really good graphics card, and then I only need one. But I haven't really jumped on the graphics card so much because I was planning, because I would spend most of my time with Linux, and so Linux does take advantage of the graphics card, but most of the rendering and everything that is done is really highly intensive on the CPU, and the engines that do take advantage of GPU processing, the image quality is per time is not entirely worth it, and there's still some glitches with materials and other assets when rendering with a graphics card. So that's kind of why I didn't upgrade my Windows PC, because most of the time I spend in Linux, on the Linux side, because it's a dual boot. And that's kind of a problem I have, is every time I build a computer, it's like, okay, this is going to be my Windows machine, and it's going to be for video games and for animating. But then I always turn it into a Linux box because I always need, one more computer to be like a render node. Because rendering can never go fast enough. And I animate really fast. And then kind of the last episode I was talking about watching sugar and watching like the sugary things that I eat. And I don't know if all of a sudden I hit this magical age where it's just like your body can't process, as much sugar as when you were younger or so. But I've definitely noticed, because there are points in the day where it's just like, I think, I'm partying a little too hard and too many, whether sugary drinks or dessert. The other day, my mom and I took my grandmother to her doctor, and we're trying to get her to gain weight. And so after the doctor, we took her to this taco place that we like, and we got her tacos, and then we got her dessert, and she had the flan, which is, it's kind of like, flan is kind of like, it's almost like a pudding / jello, and what it is it's supposedly like soaked bread and like caramel, and it's really good. But if you have a problem with texture, because sometimes I do have a problem with texture, so I don't eat it all the time. But so she had the flan, and I had rice pudding. And so then we're driving back home, and it takes us about an hour to get home from this doctor. And we had to get gas, and then my mom was like, do you want an ice cream? And my grandmother was like, yeah, I'll take an ice cream, which is really funny, because she has this big problem with eating food. Like, if she thinks she's eating a lot of food, and it's almost like anorexia, kind of. I mean, I really think it's a disorder, but if she thinks she's eating more than somebody else, she'll stop eating, and then she always cuts her food in half so that she eats less than everyone else. So she's like, so we what we do is we trick her. We get like double the food for ourselves, which doesn't help me because I'm trying to lose weight. So, and then we say, look, we're eating, twice as much as you. And so she gets like an actual normal amount of food, and then she eats that. But anyway, back to so we're driving back home. I was like, do you want ice cream? And I was like, I can't do ice cream. One, I'm full on the fake tacos I had. The tacos I had, I can't eat corn. I'm allergic to a lot of things. I'm allergic to wheat and corn, soy, walnuts, and peanuts. And I can't be around elm trees. But, and on top of that, cats and dogs. But I have a cat and a dog. And, so anyway, I get there's this potato taco I like, and I just get the potato innards. So it's kind of like mashed potatoes with better flavoring. And then I get beans and rice. But, so I had all that. And then I had the rice pudding, and I had a soda. And I was like, do you want ice cream? And it's like, And so I thought for sure my grandmother would say no. But she was like, yeah, I'll take an ice cream. So then I was like, I guess I have one too. And oh my goodness, that was a mistake, because I was so full, and then I was eating it, and I was just like, I'm not going to be okay. I'm not going to survive this ice cream. I mean, it wasn't just being full. It was just like kind of the sugar rush. But it's not like hyper or anything for me. It's just like, it just feels like I ate too much sugar, you know? And so it was funny because a week ago I looked up online, what to do when you overdose on sugar. I didn't actually type that in. I wrote down like what to do when you eat too much sugar, and then Google autocorrected to like a sugar overdose or whatnot. I thought that was funny because there was like a lot of people searching for that. So it's definitely a problem. And then it was just like drink lots of water, eat complete proteins. I didn't think of the water, but I knew that, like, you have to eat better proteins. Because what happens is once you eat the sugar, your body kind of overreacts and says, I got to get all this sugar out of the bloodstream. And so then that's the crash, is once it gets all the sugar out, you have like no energy. And so, I mean, just on a normal day, I have a problem of like crashing with low energy. And so I do try to drink like protein drinks, but I don't just drink the protein drink. I put like fruits and vegetables in it, and then I make it a shake. And I've actually started with my protein shake, instead of using just water, I put milk in and make it a smoothie. And so that has been working really well, because I have 2 classes and together they're 3 hours. And so, but then I have to drive about 30 minutes to get to the class. So I leave the house at 10:30, and then I don't get back till around 3, sometimes 4. And just doing that protein shake, I'm full the whole time. I mean, I'm a little bit hungry after the last class at 3, but it's like I don't need a snack or anything. And so that's kind of been stabilizing my energy level. But, I don't know what's going on with the sugar in general. It was like one day I just started noticing it. It's just like, this is, a lot of my problems are from kind of all these other foods that have a lot of sugar in them. So I'm like avoiding them and trying to eat complete proteins. And then I switched. I used to drink diet soda, but I switched to regular soda. And the reason why I used to drink diet soda, I used to tell everyone, don't drink diet soda, it's bad, it gives your liver problems and blah, blah, blah. But then, because I was allergic to corn, I'm also allergic to high fructose corn syrup. So supposedly, the diet soda didn't have the corn syrup. And so I would drink it, and I kind of felt okay, but it makes you really hungry. Like, I was like, oh my goodness. So every time, like, I go to the movie or something, it's just like I would be starving afterwards, even if I like ate dinner before a movie. I'd just be like constantly hungry. And so recently I switched back to regular soda just to try it out, and it was just like, oh my god, this is so much better. Because one, I didn't get that starving craving feeling for food like I did with the diet, but the next day I felt fine. And usually when I drink diet soda, kind of the next day I feel like hungover from the soda, and it's like I had to drink lots of water. I feel groggy and slow, and really low energy. And it's definitely like, oh, I have to recover from the diet. But I didn't get that feeling from just the regular soda. And so I don't drink soda that often. I might drink it once every 2 or 3 weeks. So it's pretty much when I go to a movie, that's my biggest source of soda. And then another thing that spikes your blood sugar is coffee. And so kind of what I do with my coffee is I add whole milk to it, because that kind of stabilizes it's kind of stabilizes the coffee, where coffee kind of puts your body into overdrive, and so your body takes out a lot of sugars and other proteins out of your blood stream. And so I drink half coffee, half milk for each glass, and so that way it's just I never get a crash or anything. But I'm considering switching over to like a strong tea, because I switched to espresso, so I only drink 1 cup a day, 1 cup of coffee, and I lost about 15 pounds over 3 months. And so I'm just looking for ways to change my diet, because I'm working a lot. Like physically, my job is really physically intensive, and I'm going to be doing a lot more work. So I have exercise covered. I mean, the other day, it was funny, the sun was setting, and I was like, I think I can get an hour of work in. So I started gardening and pulling the weeds and whatnot. I was like, wow, that was a nice workout. I felt great afterwards. And that's kind of one of the things I always forget. Is like, once I start doing an hour and get past like an hour of work, then it's like, oh man, I can do this all day. And just exercising, like, it releases so many like happy endorphins. And it's just like, yeah, I'm getting things done, blah blah blah, having a good time, and I'm getting paid to do it. So that's a nice reinforcement. But for some reason, before I start, I never remember that. And so now I tell myself, just work an hour, and then start working the rest will fly by. And that's again because like when I first wake up or the day starts, I feel kind of tired and groggy, and it's like, I'm kind of my mom always says like I'm so slow. Like I'm kind of like a sloth. I don't move really fast and stuff, so. So I always have to remember, like, exercise is good. And then I've actually been, I've been working for LCD Productions a lot more, and I've been recording the kind of the process of making things. I mean, I'm trying to record things that aren't too spoilery, but I record the entire process of restoring photographs, and then the editing process for selecting photos and things like that. So I'm starting to make content out of making the content, but that's going to be releasing on the creative side. So Wednesdays and Fridays, those episodes will be coming out. And some of them are going to have narration, but a lot of them aren't. The first one that's going to come out is this project called America 1. And it's either going to be called America 1 or America Series 1. But it's the first part of this kind of photography series that I wanted to do. Kind of similar to like Project Park and life photography from photations.com, and that's where it's going to be published. But the creative process of finding the photos and then editing them and selecting the best ones, that part has been recorded, and that's going to be the first creative series that's going to come out. And so it's going to alternate. I think what's going to happen is there will be kind of the creative process stream, and then afterwards the not the final project, but like it will be like the America 1 series, and then it will be followed by Photations Mark 1 or Mark 2, which is like a final edited project that will be streamed after the first creative. After the America 1 creative is released, there's a new series that's rolling out on Photations called the 80mm collection, and it's a collection of photographs that were captured on a medium format camera, and so the size of the frame is 80mm, so it's double the size and quality of 35mm cameras, which are the 35mm is like the most popular, but this is a higher quality camera. And so after America 1, we'll show the process of selecting the different black and white negatives, and how to convert the negative into a digital format that's really has the highest quality version, highest quality as possible. So right now there's 5 photos up on Photations from the first photos that are coming out are from Italy. So there's 5 or 6 that are up publicly right now, and each photo I show the process of editing the photo and fixing some things like dust on the negative and whatnot, and doing like the tone mapping and things like that. And then today, in the other episode, I was kind of talking about it, but today we had a midterm in art class. I wasn't worried about it a lot, but it was funny because this morning I decided to like triple check she gave us a study guide, and so I never noticed that it was printed on both sides. It was a double-sided study guide, so there was like all these other things we were supposed to know. And it wasn't a problem because I knew the other things, but I was like, oh man, thank goodness I double checked it. And so that part was like surprising. But so I get to class and I'm the first one there. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then once the rest of the class came in, she was like, okay, are there any questions for the test? Everyone started asking like things they thought they were going to be on the test, and I was really impressed because she gave all the answers, and then people were like, when you said this in that class, in like the first class, what is it? What do these topics mean? And she was like, oh, this is the blah 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 from that period and its significance because of this. I was like, wow, she just knows all that off the top of her head. So the test was only 30 questions. And I kind of wish I wish it was more questions, because there were some that I wasn't sure, like I got right. And so whenever you have a test that's, smaller, one question wrong is kind of a larger percent of that you lose. And oh my goodness, she told us it would be like multiple choice, and it was like, I got there and technically it was multiple choice, but it was like there were 2 questions that were like worth 10 points, and it was like mix and match these definitions with the topic that they're describing. And so that part was like kind of difficult, because a lot of them, when you read them the first way through, sound like exactly the same, like the exact same definitions. But like one of them was like what is it called when you have an artwork that takes up space, and then the other one is what do you have when you have artwork that fills the space. So it's like those are really similar. So the answers were like one is mass and one is volume. And so like I was prepared for that one, but there were a couple others that were like that. And then there was this one that was like blah 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 blah, and I was like, oh my goodness, are they describing a line? Is that it? And I'm pretty sure that was it, because I got all the other ones right, and it was just like that was the funniest way to describe a line for an art class. But I feel semi-confident in it. And then, so I'm hoping the test went well. All my homework I do in the class, I get the full points for, so I'm hoping it stays that way. But there have been times where like I do really good on the homework and the studying and everything, and then just bomb a test. And it's like, doesn't make sense. I know what I'm talking about. I know the class, but for whatever reason, I like misread a question or something. And then in my computers class, oh my goodness. So there's this one person who sits next to me, and he's an older person, but I mean, not too much older. He's like maybe 35 or so. So he's about 10 years older than me. But every time I come to class, he's always there before me. But he has his like laptop out, and he's like playing all these YouTube videos of like tutorials, not even tutorials, they're like press releases from like a third party company talking about like, oh, AMD released this version of a server and it's this much better than that. But the joke of it is he's playing it, in class before class starts, like at maximum volume, and then he has headphones in his ear while he's listening to something else on his phone. And you just like pick one, you don't have to accost everyone in class with your kind of crummy tutorial videos. And then the other person who sits next to me, he's younger. I think he's like maybe in his 20s, like early 20s. But I mean, he can barely get through class. He starts getting antsy and starts like doing, oh, this is something they both do. They both start like tapping on the table, like to a beat, nobody else hears, but they're like rocking out to a song and whatnot. And it's just like, seriously? Just, if you're not going to pay attention to the teacher, you can just pretend to pay attention. But so that part is kind of annoying because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm surrounded. But then this other younger kid, he's constantly just like swearing under his breath, and it's getting to the point where I'm like, is this guy okay? I mean, it's not like Tourette's or anything, but it's just like, oh my god. He gets like not frustrated. He does well in the class and he knows his things, but if the slightest issue comes up on the computer, he's like, fuck this, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, is that really necessary? And he's just constantly dropping the F-bombs under his breath, but it's like I can hear him. So that part's kind of funny because I mean it's awkward because he's like, are you okay? Yeah, but so that's kind of the two people I'm sitting around. Oh, and then, I'm not sure about the older guy, the guy who's about 35, but there is somebody who's sitting around me, and I don't know who it is, but whenever the wind changes, it just smells like something has died. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I don't know who that is, but they need to be taught like some hygiene or whatnot. But it smells like a rotting animal almost. But I don't think it's the younger guy. I think it's the older guy that's like 35. But I mean, it's funny because like someone will sneeze in class and he'll just like scream out, bless you. And it's like, it's important to say, Gesundheit or whatever. But you don't have to scream it out in the middle of class when the teacher is giving a lecture. But that part's funny. And then, the other day, today, he just belched like really loud in class, and he was like, excuse me, screaming out, and he's just like, and it was funny. Well, it wasn't funny. It was just like, oh my goodness, that's disgusting. But it wasn't just like a little one. It was like those ones you see of like a hobbit drinking a giant mug of beer and then belching. It was like that. I was like, wow, what are you doing? That you have to release that much. And so today, my I have this homeopathic medicine that I'm trying again. I've had it before, and it worked really well. So that's why I'm getting it from a different company, though. But it's called, like, Inkaro, like Armenia or something. So they're like these little pellets you take, and they dissolve under your tongue. And so the one from the original brand I got, you would take like 3, and then if you needed to take more, you can take it like up to 4 times a day. And so you want to space it out, but I guess I forgot that you can take it 4 times a day. So then with this other company, they're like, it's 4 tablets, and they say, take it 4 tablets, take it 4 times a day. But it's like, it only comes with 250 tablets. So like that would only last you like 13 days if you did it. But these kind of pills are just like you take them as needed. And so I already took the first dose, so I'm gonna stick with like maybe, I'm not gonna take it every day, but I'm gonna stick with maybe 2 doses a day instead of the 4, because I'm kind of cheap, and I want it to last long. I don't want it to last 13 days if I was taking it every day. It has to last at least a month, but it's not really expensive. It was like $5.75, and then it was on Amazon Prime, so it was free shipping. But after I took the first dose, and then I was like, I'm just gonna wait to see if it works. And then I played a couple levels of Need for Speed, and I mean, I definitely felt more relaxed. And then I've noticed no side effects or anything like that, which doesn't surprise me, because the other time I tried this medicine, I didn't have any problems. And so kind of what's nice about it is like there are still things I worry about, and still things I'm planning to do and whatnot, but it's just like it doesn't feel like kind of emotionally like it's the end of the world, which is good. So that's something I worry about. Like if you take anti-anxiety, you just become too loose and too relaxed and don't care about things the same way you normally do. But that's not the case with this one. So I'm happy with that. And then after an hour, I was like, wow, this is great. I just feel kind of, I guess, like I feel normal, and it's like, it's been years since I felt normal and not constantly worrying about something or whatnot. Yeah, I've had anxiety for a long time. I didn't have anxiety in elementary school, but I definitely had anxiety in high school. It was funny because I saw a doctor about it, and I started describing it, and I was like, you legitimately have high anxiety. But at the time in high school, I mean, nobody really talked about depression or anxiety so much, so it was just like, well, one, I just didn't know that a lot of people couldn't relax like me. I mean, it's not like nowadays, like I see it all over the place, and there are like so many YouTubes that are like, here are like 5 things to help you relax, or guided meditation. And so like I used to do a lot of yoga, and that helped. But a lot of times driving to school, I mean, anxiety would just build up. And so I used to think that like kind of all these physical problems, like my stomach would get upset and things like that. I used to think like, oh, maybe it's because I used to think, oh, it's like it's the car ride, it's this and that, I'm getting motion sickness, but it just turned out that it was just nerves. And the other thing that's kind of funny about it is, like, my personality is, it was just why it doesn't make sense I have the anxiety, but I'm like a really calm person. I think things through. I don't really get overly emotional. Really. I mean, in terms of like, when I do get over emotional, it's like it's either something making me sad or I'm really happy. But it's never like, I never get angry at someone. And if I do, I'm always like logical about it. It's not like I'm going to yell at them or whatnot. And I've kind of never really understood that about like people who like will get angry kind of like little things, and they'll start like screaming at someone else, and just like, oh my goodness, no drama, please. And so my plan for kind of this anti-anxiety is I'm going to take it like not in the morning, but in early afternoon, so like 11 or so, and then I'll take it again at in the late afternoon, so like 6 or 7. And again, it's just because I feel like I can calm myself down and stuff, but I'm still worried, and I just want to I kind of want to just like relax and not have to kind of like talk myself down so much from the anxiety. I just want to live. I want to live. And then there's this house I work at where I'm the gardener and also the housekeeper and like the handyman. And so I'm going to try to like up my hours working there because I'm gross. I pretty much work whenever I have free time, but things with like LCD Productions and Thumbs United and Rotation are starting to like really smooth out that I can do other work more often. So that's going to start happening. And what's nice about that is it's going to be like more exercise. Hopefully I lose more weight. I lost 15 pounds, but I can still lose a lot more. I can lose like 60 pounds I could probably use 80 pounds and still be at a healthy weight. But the main reason why why I'm starting to get worried and oh gross. The main reason why I'm starting to get worried and run out of my hours is, one, I get paid in IOUs, but I get paid a small bit straight off the top. And so, but all my registration for like websites and everything, they start happening in December. So it's like, and I'm on the yearly payment cycle. So that was one of the nicest things, was switching with hosting, switching from a monthly site to a yearly, because I mean with the monthly, you're just worried each month. It's like, either, I mean, you have to make that much money either from the site or from other means. And the part I never liked was like, you have to pay more for the monthly. And so for the yearly, they cut you a deal. But then not only that, after January, there are like several domains that I have. And so I have to check the date on them, but they start renewing at like different times. There's one that's like in February, then March, and then there's one in May. And so the bills are going to start all rolling in. And then, there's Christmas and the holidays. And I was kind of playing with the idea. I wanted to get one sister a PS4. And then I wanted to get another sister the Nintendo Switch. But I don't think that's going to happen for Christmas. I think I'm going to have to do it on birthdays, because I need a little more time to save up for it. And two, their birthdays are in the spring and summer, so that will give me plenty of time to save up for it. Last night, my mom cooked this. It was a really good meal. I mean, my mom's a really good cook, but she got this recipe online. She wouldn't tell me what was in it or whatnot, but it was like this pasta, and it was like, it had this really cheesy sauce, but it tasted really good. And I ate it, and it was just like, wow, I feel full. Like I ate, like I had a plate full, but it felt like I ate 3 or 4 plates. It was just really filling. And then I went to bed last night, and I couldn't understand it. They say you fell asleep before your head hit the pillow, and it was something else. It was something like that. But I was so tired, and so tired that the second I hit the pillow, I was like, I wasn't asleep. I was like, oh gross. I was like 90% asleep, where I was like still thinking, but it was just like, I am so comfortable, and I was like, I was warm under the blankets and everything, and I was just like that for like maybe 30 minutes, but then I was so relaxed that I was like, oh, I have to go to the restroom. And I was like, do I get up and go? But I was like, I am so relaxed right now that I might go to the restroom if I fall into too deep a sleep or whatnot. And so I decided to go to the restroom before I fell asleep. But still, I never felt that. I almost felt rested, more rested from just sitting there in bed and have a sleep than I felt in a long time. After like hours of sleep. And so that was really weird. And so what I think it was I think it was the food. A lot of times my mom, and sometimes me, but like when you eat a big meal, you get really tired, like after Thanksgiving or whatnot. And so I think that was part of it. My body was like, we have food. And it's like the body is a snake. Just like, I'm going to sit here and digest this food for a week. But it was really good. And so what the meal was, it was like this fettuccine, but then it was like this cheese sauce made, kind of made from Parmesan. But then what made the sauce so thick was it was actually like there was hummus in the sauce, which I had no idea. And so it was really tasty, and there was also a lot of lemon. So it was really good and really filling. I mean, I had one plate and there was like a little bit left and I almost couldn't finish it. So I think that's what it might have put me in a food coma. That's how good it was. A happy food coma. Oh my goodness, and then kind of other thing, after talking about the computer class, our class is divided into modules, and so there's 4 modules in the semester, and after each module completes, we have the test, and each test is like, it's a high percentage of the grade. It's like taking a midterm 4 times the semester. And so the teacher's like, hey, we're about to finish a module this week. And she's like, you know what that means? It's going to be time for another test. But she was like, I forgot. She said that like she forgot there was going to be a test. I was like, oh no. Because I'm trying to get out my work. I want to get all my work done by this Thursday at the latest, because I'm going to fly to New York to see my sisters. And so I don't want to worry about school or anything at all. And it's just for the weekend. I'm going to come back Monday. And so I definitely don't want to worry about the test, because the test it's a take-home test, and it's open book, but it's like 50 questions, and they're really complicated. Like, the questions try to trick you up. And it's just like, oh my goodness. I don't want to have to worry about that while I'm in New York. And then, because the other issue is, it's you take the test online, but you can only open the test once. So if like the internet goes out from like shady hotel internet Wi-Fi, then that's it. You know, like if it closes and you only completed 20 questions out of the 50, you can't open it up again to take the test again. So, I mean, sometimes the teacher will reset the test, but then you have to start over. You don't start from there. and then the test is randomly generated, which kind of isn't fair. But so everyone gets, there's 200 questions, and of those 200 questions, each test will have 50 of them, and so everybody gets a different group of questions. So I'm hoping that the test is going to be due next week, which it probably is, because she gives us a week to do the test, and it's Tuesday right now. So if she was going to give it to us, she would have told us today. So I think it's going to be, it's going to be due. It's going to be open to take next Tuesday, and then we have to finish it by the Tuesday after that, which is what I'm hoping. And so then I was talking earlier, I was playing Need for Speed, but I was playing, I have my Xbox One in the basement, and it's next to all my computers, because I do the game captures with it right now. And I've played almost all the games I have and captured them on the 360. But, so I moved the 360 to my room, and then I have a refurbished monitor, which is funny because I bought it and it has this one column of pixels. It's just a bright blue line, but other than that, it works great. And so I connected the Xbox to that, and then I have a surround sound system in my room, and so I connected to that. So it's this kind of smallish monitor. It's 24 inches. It's not like having an actual TV or anything, but it's connected to that, and then there's like this big sound. And so it's like I've forgotten how much fun a lot of the games, but mainly I was playing Need for Speed The Run, and it's just like, it's so scenic. And I feel like kind of the Need for Speed games that I have on the Xbox One, they were never quite like that scenic. And I have Rivals and Need for Speed, which is kind of like an Underground clone, like Need for Speed Underground clone. But yeah, they're just like the Need for Speed, the new version that's like Need for Speed Underground. It's really good looking, but it's not really scenic. I mean, like, the cars look good, and the city looks really detailed, and the render engine is like really, really high quality. But I mean, it's just like the whole city's at night, and you don't really see that much. Not much detail in the scenery. And so, I mean, I really enjoyed the Need for Speed, and I did the Let's Play of it, the Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, the new one that came out, not the original Hot Pursuit. But the original Hot Pursuit was actually, it was pretty scenic. It was like in all these different places, like in the mountains, and then you had the forest, and then you were like on this pretty cool island. But Need for Speed, like Need for Speed Rivals, I mean, it's this one kind of island playable map, and you can just drive around it, and that's what I like to do. But the land just feels kind of short. Like, you're driving up in the mountains for like 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're in the desert, and then all of a sudden you're in the forest again, and then you're back in the mountains. And he's like, it took no time to get from there to here. It's not just because you have like a fast car, but it's just the landscape is small. And so like with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, you can do the races, but then you can also do the free drive where there's no race and you can just drive through the entire map. And it just, the space in between them and everything is really the space in between everything is really large. So it's funny because like a lot of times I'll play video games and I can route the audio to headphones, but again, when I'm doing the video capture, I have this. It's like it's just like a block, and so it's not really in stereo. It's not in surround sound or anything. It's a kind of high quality speaker, but it's not just like iPod dock, but it's like a higher end speaker that's essentially in mono because of the way it's built. And so I play all the audio for that. So going back and playing the Xbox connected to surround sound, it's just like, oh my goodness. Like I knew where all the other cars were in relation to me. Like I could hear them sneaking up behind me, and I was like, there's a guy on the left, there's a guy on the right. And so then like a couple of times I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in first place, doing fine. And then you just hear them sneaking up to you, and it's like I've forgotten what it's like to like have all these audio cues and whatnot, because I'm like a lot of times I'll play a video game just on mute while I listen to like a podcast or whatnot. And so it was funny because I talked about this in an earlier episode, but I went back and I played Halo 3 with subtitles, and it's just like the subtitles had things that, you know, the characters just straight up didn't say or didn't enunciate well, or that the game, when it was like rendering the audio, because the character like was running away from the screen, it got too quiet and whatnot. And so it was just like, it was a completely different story. But I also played with the audio on, and it was just like, it was hilarious listening to the other soldiers and whatnot. It was like, I forgot how good the dialogue was in terms of like ambience and what characters randomly say. And so then today I finished school and went on a really long errand. I had to drive. I was driving with my mom for like an hour because like there's this one bank we had to go to, and they don't have it in the town we live in anymore. They used to be there, but then they were like, nope, we don't, we don't want to, have our bank in the city anymore. And it's just like, seriously? So not only that, it wasn't just our city, it was like several cities around us, and they just pulled out, and then they're in, the closest one is like 40 minutes away, but because of we had to go from my school, it was about like an hour or hour and 10 minutes drive. So it's like, oh my goodness. It took forever to get there. And then it took forever to get back because the exit we have to get off is under construction. And so we had to go this roundabout way to change freeways, and then we had to get back. We had to drive through like all these crazy like little towns, and I was like, I never knew any of this was here. And so then it was just kind of discovering like all these new places, but then we finally did get back on the freeway and made it home. But that was like not planned. But I was just so happy to be done with the last class and be done with the final. Not the final, the midterm. Because I've been worrying about that forever. And then I haven't watched TV in a long time. Usually what I do is I watch podcasts either on YouTube or I download them to my phone. I listen to them while I work. And so there's like one or two ads, or like they'll read an ad in the podcast. There'll be like one ad on YouTube. But, oh my goodness. My grandmother and my mom, they like watching Dancing with the Stars. So sometimes I'll go watch it with them. But now what I do is like, I only go for the second half. Like, I can't, sit there and do all the commercials. It's just like one person dance, and then the judges talk to them, and then it goes to commercial, and then you get the score, and then it goes to commercial again, and then comes back to the next person. They talk about their dance, and then maybe they'll dance or they'll go to commercial before that. And it's just like, I can't stand these commercials. They're horrible. And it's totally not for like these commercials are all for like older people, where it's like, having this problem, here's this pill you can take to make it go away. Have another problem, like here's a different pill. And it's just like, oh my goodness. And I told my mom, because it was just like, nobody goes to the doctor with like a list of all these pills saying, I think I should have this pill. I think I should have this pill. I mean, it should be, honestly, I think it should be illegal for pill manufacturers to advertise to the public. I mean, it should just be that you go to the doctor, and the doctor, knows which medicine works best for you. And then the other thing about the commercials, it's just like, I think they're obscene. I mean, when you think about it, like, there was this one commercial for the constipation, and it was just like, other drugs, stimulate your colon so that it shoves, the poo out. and but that can be overstimulating. And I was like, if somebody walked up to you and told you this, I mean, like you'd smack them or just run away from them. Nobody talks like this in real life, especially if they're trying to sell you something, you know. And so I was like, when have commercials become this way that, you know, it's okay to nobody wants to be talking about colons and stuff in public, but it's okay if it's a TV commercial. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, if you stop and think about it, you know, just like watch a commercial and think, you know, if there was a salesman that came up to you and said some of the same things that were like on a TV commercial, you'd just be like, what are you doing? Are you out of your mind? My goodness. And then the other day I told you that this person wanted me to take some picture of moss, and I was like, where am I going to find moss? And because not all the forests have, you know, moss on all the trees and where I live. And so this tree fell in our yard, and I was like, holy moly, because there's no moss on like the bottom of the tree, but this was like a higher up branch, and it was a big branch because I couldn't even move it. It was like so heavy. And it had a ton of moss all over the place, and so I took a lot of photos. I took maybe 60 photos, and of those 60, like 25 or 27 of them were really good. So I sent the person the photos. I also released them on Patreon, but I sent the person who wanted the photos of the moss, and she was like, yes, I love them. And she was like, I'll take, you know, I think she said you wanted like number 5 and number 8, and I was like, that's good. Because it was really starting to worry me, because I was like, oh my god, it's almost winter, and moss in winter is not the same. And so I'm glad this tree fell and literally gave me my subject. So that was a relief that they liked it. And I came away with some really nice moss photos. So that's good. And so then I talked about earlier that I went back and started playing on the Xbox 360, and I adopted the Xbox One really late. I didn't get the Xbox One until 2017 in February, and I don't know, it just, with the Xbox One, I just feel like there aren't that many like games that interest me. Like, I would have expected that Halo 6 come out by now. I mean, it's been a long time since Halo 5. And I'm really hoping they're not gonna put Halo 6 on like the Xbox 2 or whatever. I hope that's not what they're waiting for. But I go to the game store and for the Xbox One, and it's just like there's not a lot of games that interest me. I mean, there's more on the PS4, but that's just because the PS4 has a lot better exclusives. But man. So they're just, I, I have maybe, I think I have 9 games for the Xbox One, and I'm just totally happy with those 9, you know. But with the 360, there are like, I have maybe 30 games. I used to have like 50 games, but then I turned some into GameStop, and but of like the 30 that I still have, it's just like I really enjoy all of them. And so I feel like there was a wider variety of games on the Xbox 360. And I mean, it was older console and lasted 10 years, but over 10 years. But there hasn't been a new game that there's like there's just not a lot of games I'm interested in or waiting for it to come out. And so that feels kind of weird to me. So half of me is like, well, maybe I'm done with being a gamer. I mean, that's not true. I'll always play video games, but maybe the 360 was my generation, but which might be the case. And so it's fall right now. It's in the middle of October, and the leaves, I wasn't expecting them to change so fast, but I mean, it's actually late for them to change, but they were like green for a lot longer than they normally were, and then they just boom. It's like they all switch color at like the same exact time in like course of like 2 days. And so I'm like looking around for all these places I want to shoot more photographs for Project Park, because a lot of the photographs I have for Project Park, they're like in the summertime, but I want to shoot like even go back to some of the older parks that I went to originally and like reshoot them with the fall leaves and everything. So I'm just like hoping, I'm like, leaves, stay on the trees a little bit longer. You know, wait for next week. And so the branch that fell in the driveway, that one was removed. It was removed early in the morning. So I was like, oh, phew, I can get out to go take my test. So that part was good. But it was funny because I had this strange dream where I went into this house, and it was funny because I was like, I didn't know whose house it was. But I went into this one room and it was filled with like all these parts for remote control airplanes and whatnot. And then it was also filled with like weapons from World War II. There were like mortar shells, and like there was like this bag that you And in my dream, it was like, what you would do is you would pour the like TNT into the bag, and then you put the shell on top of that and drop it into the cannon and whatnot. And I was like, whose house is it that has all this stuff? And so then in walks the dad to my ex-girlfriend, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is all your stuff? I had no idea you were into, one, remote control airplanes, and two, all this like warfare stuff. So that was funny. And then he was like, you need to get to work. We have to build that remote control airplane because we have a client that wants this and that. And I was like, okay. So then I like bring up the designs to try to build the airplane, and then he's like, no, we need it to be like essentially like a model what's it called, fighter jet. And I was like, but that's not gonna be good for like photography. We have to make like a slower, almost glider like airplane if we want to do like video and whatnot, because the fighter's just gonna have too much shakiness. And then he was like, well, you do what you want. And so then I'm like, okay. So I'm building the airplane in this workshop, and then I heard this noise, and it's just like, oh, the lawn, the gardeners must be here, the people mowing the lawn. And so in my dream, I look out the window, and then I go through the window, and I walk out, and I'm on the lawn, and I see the people mowing. But then I walk out further, and there is like all these dinosaurs just walking around. And I'm like, dinosaurs? And I was like, I hope they're vegetarian. And then a couple of them start running for me, and I look at them, and I'm like, those aren't the vegetarian dinosaurs. They're coming to eat me. So then I like run the opposite direction, and I run into a pond, and I'm just swimming as fast as I can away from the dinosaurs. And then they follow me into the water, but they have so much muscle that they can't swim. They just sink to the bottom. So I have to like stay in the middle of this lake because they can't get me there. And then I woke up, and that was funny because like the sound of the lawnmower and everything, it was a real sound, and it was the sound of them chopping up this branch and taking it away. And I was like, that's funny. My brain incorporated that sound into the dream, making it the gardeners. So that part was funny. And I woke up and I was like, what? I haven't thought about this ex-girlfriend's dad in like ever. And I was like, why am I dreaming about that now? And then yesterday, online, we had to do this project for our art class where we had to go find art, and that shows up in our like everyday lives. And we had to post about it, and so with the midterm, on Thursday we have to post. We have to have uploaded 50% of the project by Thursday. And so I was like, oh yeah, I got the assignment, and at first I thought the assignment was like, there were 50 things we had to find. So I was like, oh, I got to get to 25. And I just went around the house and found all these things. And so I had 20 things up, and then I went and I counted them, and it was like, oh, there's only like 30 things we had to find. I was like, this is great, because I'm like way past the halfway point. I'm almost done. I only need like 10 more things. But then last night I went back to double check because I wanted to see how many which things I had gotten and which things I still had to shoot. And so I scrolled down, and good thing I did. But it turned out there were 40 things we had to take a photo of. I was like, oh my goodness, thank goodness I checked. So I have to. So I'm still at the halfway point, but I still have a lot more to do. Because that would have been disaster if I only saw the things we had to take a photo of on the first page, and then turn in the assignment thinking I've done everything, and I've only done like half of the project. And then there's a project I want to start. I haven't always been doing landscape photography. I've done a lot of portraiture work. I've done a lot of like archival stuff, which is like taking photographs of art and in the best way possible. But then, kind of the thing I've been doing the longest was like event photography and things for the yearbook and things like that, and some portraiture. And so I want to get back into that because I've mainly been publishing like landscape photography or nature photos and wildlife, but I want to start taking photos of people again. And so a couple of my friends were like, yeah, we'll shoot with you. What's nice about the friends is like they're like, oh, just pay us $50 and we'll do it for you. And so I'm gonna take them up on that, and then yeah, because I was always so nervous. Like I joined Model Mayhem, and that was kind of a big process because they really vet you as a photographer and make sure like you're a professional photographer. I mean, you can be an amateur photographer too, but I mean, they really, and it's really good because there are a lot of creepy people out there that would like say they're a photographer and just to get models and stuff, but I had to like upload my resume and all these things, and then they approve your profile before you can set it up, and so before it goes public, and so I was always so nervous about like not like approaching different people I wanted to photograph, but I mean, you never know what the price range is. And some people are like, oh, I only do this for a hobby, and so they're more affordable. Other people are like, nope, I got rules. Like there was this one person I was looking at, and she's like, I have to have my own bodyguard come with me, and then they're like, it's in a public place, which is good, I mean, and that's what they say as a photographer is like you should always have like either a friend of the model come or have your own person come who's like of the same gender as the model you're shooting, and it just makes everybody feel more comfortable and make like the photography session like a group session and not have it so much just one-on-one, because that can get creepy, especially if there's like no chemistry between you and the model. I mean, I haven't had that issue so much because I kind of get along with everyone, but and ironically, I'm kind of a social person. Like, I've been like reclusive in the past couple of years, but like once I start talking, I almost can't stop talking. But I am quiet at first. And so I want to shoot more people, but I also want to shoot not so much, I mean, yes, models, but like everyday people, like everyday models, not just like the super skinny or the super buff male models or whatnot. But and so I want to start a new series, and it's just like they just shows people for being people and like realistic people. And half of me wants to also like incorporate something like that with live to tape, where it's people kind of like just mini stories, like 20 minutes long, and they tell something interesting that happened in their life, or people they've met, and whatnot. And so I'm getting kind of excited to, shoot people again and release it, because that's kind of the problem with other photos I've taken before, is like they were like photos of people I would take like in high school while I was in high school. So I'm like I have them in a private portfolio, some of these photographs, but there's nothing I would want to public, and it'd be creepy to public now. So I kind of want to build up my public portfolio of people. And then kind of the other thing, also with taking photographs of people, I want to shoot it on film. And we're not going to shoot every person on film, but I really do want to work with medium format more often. And I found there's a lab I use. I used to develop the black and white film myself, because there was this art gallery, and they used to have an open lab, so you sign up for the class and they just let you develop as much film as you want, and they supply the chemicals and everything to do it. And it's a process, and everything's timed, so it's like you have to take the film out of the canister roll, but you have to do it in a completely in these like film bags. And so it's like those mittens you put your hands in on each side, but you can't see what's in the bag because no light can touch the film. And so you stick your hands in, and then you have to unravel the film and put it into these film canisters, and then once you take the film out of the can, and you put it into like this. It's essentially like a reel, and so in the reel, and then you put it in a larger canister, and then you can take the canister out of the bag. So a lot of it you do without seeing, but then you take the container, and then there's 3 chemicals you use, and so you put the first chemical in, and you have to shake it every 10 seconds for maybe 5 minutes, and then you have to empty out the container, and then you put water in it and switch it around to make sure all the chemicals come out, and then you move on to the next chemical, and that one's you put in for 30 seconds, and so then you have to shake it the entire time, and then you empty it out, and then you put the last chemical in, and you have to keep it there, and it depends on your ISO and what film you're using, but then you have to keep it there for 10 minutes. And so I really enjoy working with film. I mean, you really have to get your times down, but we have charts in the class, so it's pretty easy to do. And so I also have a lot of prints, black and white prints, that I'm going to get ready to sell. But that's a whole different process. And that part's fun, because you get it's film paper, photographic paper, and it has this special coating on it, so it's not just normal paper. But and so there's a whole different process with the paper, and you have the enlarger and whatnot, and then and so printing is my favorite part. I'll create 50 prints of different photographs in half an hour. And again, there's a lot of timing, because what you have to do is you have to burn the negative image into the paper, and so that's what the enlarger is. It's like a projector that goes onto the paper. And so, with digital, you just worry about the exposure as you're taking the photo, but when you're printing on with film, you also have to worry about the exposure that you're exposing to the paper. So you really have to worry about the exposure twice, because you can make a perfectly fine negative, and you can have the exposure too long when you're printing on paper. It'll come out completely black and whatnot. So it's really fun once you get a hang of it. And so, but nowadays, and as you'll see when I start releasing the creative version of the 80mm collection, there's a whole process now where I don't print so much with I don't print from the dark lab. Now what I do is I scan the negatives of the film, and then I after I digitize them, I remove some imperfections. It's just usually there's a dust on the scanner, or maybe there's a small hair on the negative, and so I remove that, and then I print the digital file. But what's nice is with 35mm film, you can get maybe 9 megapixels, sometimes 12 megapixels out of a negative scan. But with medium format, because it's double the size, the scanner can scan so much more data. So you get around I get 70 megapixels out of each frame, and then and that's just because I'm limited by what the scanner can do. If I have a really high quality scanner, but if I had like even a higher quality one than that, it could scan a little bit better. But I'd also have to scan one frame at a time if I wanted to get the higher quality. And so what I do is you cut the film into strips, and so there's like 3 frames for every strip you cut. And so I scan the negatives 3 frames at a time. And each frame gets around 70 megapixels once you crop it. And then kind of another project I wanted to start was I'm getting ready to release the photographs from America 1, but I want to start kind of production on America 2. In America 2, what I want to do is, well, first I'm saving up for a car, but then I'm going to save up for a teardrop camper, really small one. And I just want to like camp across America and take photographs of national parks, nature, and even state parks. So that's what I really want the focus of America 2 to be. And so I found this one teardrop camper. Well, first off, there were several other teardrops, but they were like too big. They were like luxury teardrop campers, and they were like $20,000 and whatnot. I was like, that's the price of the car. That kind of defeats the purpose of a smaller teardrop camper. But I found this one company called American Teardrop, and I really like their style of teardrops. I mean, and they advertise like, you can get a smaller version. They have several different versions, but they're like our smallest one you can get, and it's like it was $4,500. I'm like, that is really affordable. And so I've been going through their website almost every other day, and I'm like configuring the different trailers, and I was like, oh, I want this or I want that, and I was like, no. And so I kind of have one picked out, and it's affordable. I mean, it's about $6,000, and I have to ask them, how much does it cost to deliver, because they're in California and I'm in Michigan, and so I don't really want to do a road trip, without the teardrop trailer to California and then pick it up, if that makes sense. Because I want to do the road trip with the teardrop, but it's all kind of pie in the sky because I still don't have my kind of replacement car. My old car was a Mini Cooper, and a tree fell on it, and it was really horrible because, it was horrible, yeah, because the tree fell on it. But that same year, there was a couple of high school students, a couple that were high school students, and they had just graduated, and they were going to northern Michigan, and a tree fell on them and killed them, and they were also driving a Mini Cooper. And I was like, wow. I'm just glad I didn't die, but it was just like too many Coopers smashed by a tree that year. And so, and the Mini Cooper was totaled, but yeah, if I was in the car when the tree fell on it, I'd be dead for sure. So that part was like creepy. It was just like, man, I'm glad I wasn't in the car when that happened. But the part that kind of sucks is where I parked it at the house. I park it in 2 different places, and so half the time I park it where it got smashed, and the other time I don't park it there. So I was like, oh, I kind of kick myself because it's like, oh, I wish I parked it on the other side, But it happens. I'm just happy I wasn't inside it. And so yeah, actually, I'm saving up to get another Mini Cooper, and the insurance kind of kind of horsed me on that one, where the Mini I had 5,000 miles, but it was a 2013, and so the depreciated value was like so low. Like I can't. If I wanted to get another Mini Cooper with the insurance money, it would have to be one with like over 150,000 miles on it. So that's like a really heavily used car. And usually, nobody wants to sell their Mini unless it has problems. So like, I don't know if those are reliable cars or whatnot. So that's why I'm saving up to get a new one instead of a really old used one. And so there are some conversion kits you can get that you can put a hitch on, and that's why I'm looking at a really small teardrop camper, because the Minis have great gas mileage. I mean, they advertise that they get 30, but the way I drive it, I get around like 38 miles per gallon, or sometimes 40. So thanks for tuning in. This has been Thumbs United.